I'm confident that we will be able to have facilities in the near future in which these youngsters can receive the attention that they deserve.
Tax, we did not have the experience in predicting sales tax when it was first put into effect, and we had a large carryover into the current budget.
Now, if we don't get any additional funds, what will this mean to Dallas?
We budget based on a conservative estimate in terms of income. We budget a minimum anticipated income and a maximum of expenditures. Our present budget, as presented to the Board of Education, will not be changed as a result of our visit this morning.
Do you anticipate any problems that we might have in this budget year?
No. At the present time, we feel quite comfortable. We are in a fine financial position. We think that we will be able to go through the budget year without any severe difficulties.
Informing Well, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling, and it's also, we have such a marvelous cast, you know, that it's sort of a thrill to be connected with them.
Right. You're playing a sex goddess in this play. Is this sort of out of character to what you normally play?
From time to time. I've gone from the rolling prairie to almost everything, but of course I've played this once or twice.
I don't think there's any question of opposition with anybody's politics. The program is a people's program. The idea is to work in participation, help people participate in their community. I can't deal with terms of opposition or political things. This is not a political organization.
I feel that if the person would understand that these persons in Vista are committed for a year, that they would be able to see a transformation and a type of transactional response in the community. We are really reconcilers by dealing under the auspices of the Council of Churches. Block Partnership is dealing with the more affluent society as well as the less affluent society. So we are re-educating people in a way that has never been done before.
Because we consider the F-8 a qualified candidate for a strictly defensive role in Israel, our company has applied for and received an export license. The license is our permission to provide written and graphic material on the F-8 directly to the Israeli government when and if requested to do so. We have had no contacts with the government in Israel. No further substantive action has been taken by this company, and no representative of LTV Aerospace has been in Israel in this connection.
Further, there have been reports that the U.S. government has encouraged the substitution of Crusaders for the F-4Cs. Is this true?
I cannot answer that. All I have is the statement here.
Well, I'm hopeful that this committee will be able to make recommendations as to the type of treatment that is needed for these people. What type of psychiatric treatment might be needed. I think it will also be informative to find out as to how many people we're actually talking about, how many patients would fall into this category. And from there, we should also be thinking about designing a facility.
We're very pleased with the interest and the enthusiasm that Speaker Mutcher has shown with regard to the need for treatment of the mentally retarded with criminal tendencies. We've had several examples in Tarrant County that are very glaring and need attention. The only place that we have for these youngsters now is in the Tarrant County Jail. And as we know, that's no place for a child.
Jerry, it's too early to predict what the tax rate is at this time. I can see where the 33 cents came from because I did point out to the council yesterday that we are facing a difficult budget session and budget preparation. We're in the process of analyzing all of the departmental requests at this time. I pointed out to the council yesterday that we will not have the full resources to start with because we do not have as much carryover from the previous year.
What we have done, Jerry, is to hand them another proposal today, which is the final proposal of the union. We asked them to pay us $2.20 as a package for 3 years. Of course, Fort Worth will have a 25-cent differential tagged on to the $2.20, which would make the Fort Worth total package $2.45.
That is opposed to what initial figure you gave them?
Well, we began on the asking for approximately $3 for 3 years.
Now you're down to $2.20 for Dallas and $2.45 for Fort Worth.
Right.
What else have you offered?
We are telling them at this point that we will negotiate the working rules. We have negotiated them, but we are willing to consider a study of the changes that they want to make, and that we're willing to go out and try to introduce these to the people and see if the craftsmen are wanting to move into this change.
Don't know, but approximately 2 months ago, maybe
Dr. Estes, you asked for $7.8 million toward teachers' salaries, and it looks like it'll be about $7 million. Would you consider this a defeat towards your budget proposal?
Yes, I think so, and we're disappointed. We recommended 7.8 because we thought that teachers needed it. This is what they ought to have. We still think that that's correct. We're disappointed that the board apparently will provide only $7 million.
I think what Mr. Charles Griffin had in mind, who brought the matter to the commission, was the extremely deteriorated areas of the city, in which we have really no program at the present time for cleaning out those extremely blighted areas and bringing them to standard.
Aren't there certain standards that are set forth by the city, and why aren't these being enforced?
Yes, there are certain housing standard codes, but until there is some place for these families to go, until there's alternate housing, the city has been very reluctant to condemn a house and to move a family out on the street unless there was alternate housing available. So unless there have been complaints or unless the house is vacant, for the most part, they've been left alone.
There were reports that you were allegedly carrying heroin and vials of drugs on your person. What actually have you been charged with?
I have been charged with possession of dangerous drugs, which is not heroin. It's not a narcotic, period. But this will all be borne out by the state at a later time. There was a warrant who came out for my arrest today, and that's the reason I came down today to post bond. I posted a misdemeanor bond. I went through the identification process of the Dallas County Jail, and release came up while I was in jail, and here I am now.
Do you feel that the Bar Association will disbar you, or do you just feel that there possibly will be a temporary suspension until your trial?
I'm sure they will disbar me. I'm sure they will.
If this happens, what will you do then?
I do not know at this point. I do not know.
Now, we have worked for 15 years, and we finally pinned him down. We've got a tape recording of him. We've got a statement from his wife. The fellow that worked with Harry E. Weaver is the one that killed. Harry E. Weaver is the woman's husband. Now, he is the actual murderer. We served a subpoena on him in April to come down here to trial, and when we served the subpoena to him, the shock hit him so great that he died.
During the time that you spent in, and since you've been arrested in January of ‑55, have you had many approaches of people saying that for a certain amount of money they could get you cut loose?
Well, now I had if you noticed, last year there was a story ran in 2 years ago there was a story ran in the Police Detective. All right, it was all a big bunch of hooey. There's a Texas Ranger in San Angelo, Texas by the name of Ralph Rohatch. We won't pull any punches. We'll let the audience know who he is. He's retired now. His name was Texas Ranger Ralph Rohatch. He was on the stand the other day. He and I had a good relationship. But he came up to me and offered me, he said, Harry, for $15,000, if you'll pay me $15,000, he says, I'll cut you loose. He says, I've got a lawyer that'll take your case and we'll cut you completely loose.
I think that the important thing as football players is the fact that we got to get ready for the regular season. Now, the exhibition games, there's been a lot of pro and con to the value of 6 exhibition games. I don't want to talk about that, but I would say that getting ready for the season, which is the prime importance of every professional athlete in football, it wouldn't take longer. I would hope that it wouldn't take longer than a week. Now, I'm just cutting it off at a week. I'd say a good solid week of working, and this is going to be a lot of work. I mean, it's not going to be any time for leisure at any point. but it's going to be a solid week if we had, let's say, just a week to work with, of actual work, getting out there and, like I say, spending a lot of time on the field, running through the plays, spending a lot of time in meetings, putting the plays in. The person that's going to really hurt is the second-year man, the rookie, the man who's trying to make the squad. It took me, without exaggeration, it took me maybe 2-3 years to learn the basic offense of the Cowboys. Coach Landry's theory is very difficult to, let's say, put in execution in your own mind. It's easy to see, and you can look on the board and it works. But to put it in your own mind and have confidence in what you're doing, it takes a lot of time.
There has been some comment, though I don't know how serious it is, and I'm asking you as an individual now, not as a spokesman for the Players Association, obviously, or for the Cowboys. Some of the owners are suggesting that they might cancel the season. Do you personally feel it would go that far?
I don't believe the season will be canceled because it would cause so much dissension, if not from the fans. I think from the players, the owners, I think it would cause such a rhubarb in the makeup of professional athletics. What would be gained by it? I don't see. Yes, we'd be out of our job for a year. We wouldn't get paid for a year. The owners wouldn't make any money for a year. Maybe they don't need the money. I'm sure that most of them are pretty well pasted already. They've got money that they're, invested in the Cowboys or other teams as such. They've got the money. They don't need the income from the professional athletics. I personally feel we'll settle before the season starts. I personally feel that.
Well, Art, in the original projection that we had, we came up with about 100. And to date, we've transferred 47 here from Albuquerque District office to the Fort Worth District office. And they are physically located here in the district. And we also assumed control or responsibility for the field offices that were involved, and we acquired 43 people in that area also.
Mel, why is the United States failing in its efforts to bring peace in the Middle East?
Well, basically because the United States and the Soviet Union are supporting different sides. We support the Israelis, basically, and the Soviet Union supports the Arabs and Palestinians. And as long as both sides supply weapons to both sides, it becomes a stupid situation where you say to two boys in the street, don't fight, but here's a club for each of you to fight with. And it's just that plain and simple, Jim. We're at a point now where we must say to the Israelis, and the Soviet Union must say to the Arabs, we want you to sit at a conference table and work this thing out. The Security Council the United Nations cannot be blamed for this failure of resolving the problem in the Middle East, because the resolution of November 22nd, 1967 is clear and simple. It calls for the Israelis pulling back to where they were before June the 5th, and I think this would basically solve it with 25% of the people of the world not represented. You just can't do it. No matter what their philosophy might be, I think there's a chance of changing their philosophy if you get them around a conference table. Now, we've changed our posture toward Red China in the last 2 years.
In other words, you feel we can soothe the wounds as opposed to opening wounds by admitting them.
Absolutely.
Do you feel the United Nations as a peacekeeper is doomed?
Oh, no, under no circumstances. It's the only hope we have. It's the last hope for mankind.
Will Communist China ever be admitted?
Yes, I say within my gauge, Jim, is the next 5 years.
Will it be a good thing?
Yeah, I think it'll be a marvelous thing.
A group of about 55 geologists from all over the world is taking part in this, the first Inter-American Micropaleontological Colloquium. These scientists will travel for an 11-day period throughout the Texas area between Dallas and Del Rio, searching for fossil deposits which are said to be easily accessible in this area. Traveling with the group as representative of co-sponsor, the University of Texas at Dallas, is Dr. Dan Powell. Dr. Powell, what brought this group of geologists together?
This is an idea that occurred to us at a national meeting in St. Louis in 1966, and we decided that we would pattern such a trip in this classic Cretaceous period rock exposures in East Texas after some successful European colloquia of similar nature. This area has exposures of rocks of late Cretaceous age, about 70 to 100 million years ago. They will take them back to their laboratories and process them through washing techniques and remove all the microscopic fossils, which are what we're primarily interested in. And then they will proceed to compare these with the faunas, with the microfossils in the same age rocks in their area. And we will, result of this, in a few years, we hope, will be further study in other areas of significance like this, and also a time or age correlation between North America and Europe.
Mr. Hill, what do you believe is the reason for your dismissal?
I don't know, unless it's just spite. Only last week she told me how important I was to the job and how important the job was, and since her appointment is only for the interim of the present term, I feel that it's just spite. I have no other explanation than that. Certainly my work was acceptable. It's been that way for 8 years. Oh, I actually feel relieved. I've been treated very badly in the last week. I have every right in the world to run for the office. I'm qualified, and I came out first for it, and I hold no ill will against Mrs. Johnson. I think she's not well. She's being prompted on all this by a handful of her close co-workers there in the office. I felt this for some time, and they've been jealous of me for some reason. I don't know. Now, when I say a handful, I'm talking about top 2 or 3 in the office. And I feel sorry for her, and I feel sorry for them. I feel relieved, actually. I've got a lot of friends at the courthouse. I'll be back in 30 days, as soon as I have my vacation. I'll be back. I've got too many friends.